Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, this Euro 2020 special on PLZ Soccer. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and of course Twitter. Roughie's with me. Gabriel Antoniazzi will also be with us on the show. Of course, that's because he's getting ready for the big one, England against Scotland. Gab's on the train to London this morning.
Thanks, Peter, and hello from Glasgow Central Station. I'm just about to get on my train down to London like thousands of other Scotland fans are doing today. They'll be getting the train, they'll be flying, they'll be in their cars because it's the big one on Friday. Wembley, 8 o'clock against England. Now, of course, the national mood has been a little bit low since the defeat, the damaging defeat on Monday against the Czech Republic, but it's now turning towards excitement to this massive fixture against the old enemy. Who can be excited for this one? If we get a point here, a victory here, it'll be Scotland's greatest ever result. Some people aren't too optimistic, but plenty of others are. I'll be bringing you all of the latest build-up from Daniel. We'll be speaking to fans. We'll be hearing from Scotland manager Steve Clarke. We'll be hearing from Gareth Southgate, the Three Lions boss, as well. Now, the weather down in London today is about 30 degrees. We're not expecting that on Friday. We think it will be a lot colder, even rain. There's been a warning of a possible thunderstorm. So the Scotland players will be perhaps much more used to that than the basking sunshine they're experiencing right now. But plenty of questions as well ahead of the match. Will Kieran Tierney be fit? He trained yesterday. Will Shea Adams play from the start? Will we see any of Billy Gilmour, such as the clamour for the Chelsea youngster to feature? Those are the kind of conversations that we're going to be having had on all of the carriages in the backs of cars and planes heading down to London today. London Mayor Sadiq Khan suggested that any Scotland fans without tickets shouldn't be coming, but that's not going to stop the Tartan Army faithful. We think around 20,000 are heading down to England's capital. And as I said, stay tuned. I'll be bringing you all of the latest over the next few days.
It's like the cat got the cream, Roughie. You can tell he's just absolutely delighted that he's got a ticket. He's going to the game.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about when you play England. It's the journey down there. I suppose the supporters will be on there. I'm sure you've got Gabriel. He'll be sitting in the first class with his wee glass of Prosecco. You know, he'll be just sipping away there, just waiting to get there to enjoy the atmosphere. And believe it or not, the atmosphere is what makes this game. It's the supporters that make this game. If you're travelling about London at any Scotland-England game, it's just a tremendous occasion to be at.
Yeah, I've got to say hi to more than a few people who've joined us. John Donald, Niall Kane, Hugh Scott, Kathy Cunningham, Thomas McDougall, Alison, Sarah Carroll, David Robertson as well, Ronnie Porter, Shane Johnson. He said there'll be a fair bit of drink on them trains. Yep, I think there will be. You're right, Shane. Hi to Stuart, Norman, Stephen and Kevin as well. We're across YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget, if you download the app, you can actually get the programme on your phone and all the latest information across all of European and world football. There's a Euro 2020 feed as well. Anything you want to talk about going into the big game? Give us your thoughts. We'll yet again look at the possible formation that Steve Clarke might opt for. Every pundit and their granny, every fan has had their say on who they think is going to play, who should start in this game on Friday to try and somehow drag us back into contention in this group. Kieran Tierney has a chance, according to Steve Clarke, Roughie.
Yeah, I think they'll monitor the situation. I think, unfortunately, in the modern day, Scotland managers have a responsibility to the clubs who these players play for. I think they know the risk of playing a player like Tierney. If he gets injured during the game and he's out for 4 months or 3 months, the club isn't going to be happy with that. So they've got to have that in the back of their mind. I think we're all hoping it isn't a serious niggle that he had, and I think with the technology and the medical staff we've got there, they'll be doing everything in their power to get him fit.
Yeah, I'm liking that one. Roughie, do you even remember what year this one is?
No, I'm not sure what year. I think it wouldn't be that far away.
Yeah, 96 maybe, something? No, in fact, maybe a wee bit later.
Yeah, it'd be around about the time when Craig Gordon came into the team, because I have another jersey in the house that's signed by Craig Gordon, it's signed by Jim Leighton, and it's signed by myself. And the relevance in these 3 signatures?
Well, would you 3 all be the top 3 appearances for Scotland?
That's correct.
Yeah, are you at number 3 now?
I'm at number 3, and unfortunately David Marshall is rapidly coming to knock me off the top three. So maybe it's time Craig Gordon get another game.
Although I have to say, Roughie, the memes that are flying about, everything on David Marshall is incredible. I mean, I watched a video this morning of one where he actually makes it to the ball and clears it.
Yeah,
Somebody's re-edited it.
Yeah. But as we said yesterday, I mean, you, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you keep talking about Eddard, and that's the way it is. You keep talking about Kubi, so you're a goalkeeper. Things like that stick with you for the rest of your life, and David Marshall is going to have to live with that. It doesn't matter, where it is, when it is. If it's up in Scotland, the Scottish supporters will remember that I'm getting tangled in the net, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, listen, everybody's had their say on it, whether Craig Gordon should play or not. I think he'll stick by him because we've mentioned the loyalty. I think the loyalty is coming into question. There's a few people well peeved with the fact that, he's, for example, picked Stephen O'Donnell. I mentioned yesterday I thought Stephen O'Donnell was an easy target, Roughie. I mean, Steve Clark's mentioned, what has he done wrong? I mean, did he go out and close the ball down quick enough for the cross? Well, the answer to that is he didn't close it down quick enough, but for me, it wasn't his man. I mean, he came out of a pack where he was clearly picking up somebody, and he moves to the left-back situation to close this guy down. He's travelled a fair bit because he's spotted the overlapping runs. So I think maybe some people are unkind. I think, personally, we've got to pose a greater threat, and we need a higher calibre player, I think, to do that in James Forrest.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, James Forrest won't get back and track back whoever's on that side. He will track back because he does it with Celtic. He's played in that many European games where he's had to track back, he's had to pick up the wide guy, and he'll know that when we've got the ball, obviously we want to be going forward as well. And as we saw in a small glimpse of him the other day there, when given the chance in that 18-yard box around about there, he causes havoc.
Yeah.
No defender likes a winger going at you and jinking and you're on your back foot. So, yeah, it'll be interesting if he goes down that way. But to get back to O'Donnell, I don't think it's O'Donnell's fault. He's gone in and he's doing his best. His best has always been maybe 60, 70%, and that's the way he is. So if he's going to be playing, that's what we'll have to put up with.
Yeah, George Laurie says, I hope Gilmore and Forrest play in this one up front so we can have a real positive game. I think everybody, we want to have a go. We certainly don't want to have an inferiority complex. And if you listen to John McGinn today, he certainly said, there's no inferiority complex as far as playing England. It's the English media who are building up England.
In these games, I think when you look at the record between Scotland and England, I was surprised with how tight the results were. The English media would have you believing that the gap was humongous, so it's up to us on Friday to prove that. We'll try and be cool customers, but we don't want to take the passion out of us too much as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, John McGinn, we all know exactly what the hype's about. I mean, if you were watching the coverage last night, you'd have thought Scotland were just there to make up the numbers, Roughie. I mean, it was all about Gascoigne's goal in 1996. It was all about England. I mean, it was like, I can understand sometimes why most of the nation gets absolutely well miffed when we actually get to a situation where we're playing England. There is this kind of an air of supremacy. There is this feeling that, we are there to make up the numbers, but the players don't have that inferiority complex.
No, they don't, but I mean, you're very aware of it. I mean, as I said, I played in 7 Scotland-England games. I think it was 3 down at Wembley, and once you touch down at Wembley, you grasp what's going on, and it is the media, and it's the media who build it up, and it also, let's not forget, it's the media who knock them down when they fail.
Yeah.
They're not slow in doing that as well. But they have got good players. We know they've got good players. I think this is a tournament too early for England. I think there's a lot of young players will come through this tournament and be better than the next tournaments ahead. So I think we've maybe got them at the right time where these young players have still got to prove themselves in an English jersey. All right, they've got Harry Kane, But there's a lot of young ones in there, you know, will feel the pressure and everything that's heaped on them to do well in this tournament.
Yeah, I always like to try and read out as many messages as possible. Andy Rundle thinks I've obviously got a love for James Forrest. He says it's embarrassing. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Andy. I actually think we need to try and work out ways in which we can cause England problems. And I think he's got experience. He's got Champions League experience. And I think going forward, he could cause them a problem. If you don't think that, Andy, you're entirely entitled to your view on it. It's not embarrassing. He's a top drawer player, and he can cause them problems. It's as simple as that. There is a clamour, and you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion. There's a clamour for Nathan Patterson. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I do not understand how this nation, and there is a divided nation, and there's certainly an old firm angle to it, that a boy who's played 7 games suddenly should be thrust into one of the biggest games on the European stage in the Euro 2020. I don't see it, Roughie, and no harm to the boy. I think he could be the right back or the right wing back for Scotland for the next 20 years. I just don't see it after 7 games.
Yeah. I think that it's the same discussion as we had the other day with Gilmer, you know, and people will be saying, oh, you're quite happy to throw Gilmer in, but you're not quite happy to throw Patterson in. You know, I think Gilmer's had more games under his belt against top-class opposition, obviously with Chelsea, playing down in the Premiership.
But by the way, I'm not comparing light for light, because Nathan plays right side defender, different players. But Billy Gilmour is a level above everybody in Scotland. Yeah. You know, I mean, there are a lot of really good players in Scotland, but Billy Gilmour is a young boy who's playing in the top flight in England. He's a top drawer player. We don't have enough Billy Gilmours.
No, and I think if Nathan Patterson was going to be thrown into the equation, he'd be thrown in long beforehand. He's been down there training with the team. Well, for a game against Holland and a game against Luxembourg, you know, these were the games. If Stevie Clarke had it in his mind that he is that wing-back guy that we're going to play, I think we'd have seen a lot more of him. Giving the boy a chance. I mean, it's okay coming in and playing your first or second international game, but to get thrown in an England game at Wembley when everything is at stake, it's a big ask, you know, and it would be a big ask if you threw him and I think Gilmour as well, but I think Gilmour's got better credentials to play in this game. And as you say, we're nothing against the boy, he's just not played enough games for me.
Yeah, there is another argument brewing at the moment, which again, I don't want to get too bogged down with, but it's quite a valid point, Roughie. Quite a few people have mentioned the fact that how is it okay for 20,000 people to head down in trains and go to big parks and get ready for Scotland, and it wasn't all right for Rangers fans. There's a slight difference, of course, because you know it ended up nasty, to be honest with you. But is there a difference?
It's a hard one to get your head around, you know, because obviously, you know, it's this one's structured. We know what's going to happen. You know, I don't think the police or anybody knew what was happening with Rangers. They didn't know what how many people were going to be there, when they were going to be there.
They must have expected a lot.
I know they expected a lot, but I think if you obviously saw the scenes, you know, I think you're now in the situation of, as far as the police are concerned, do you go in heavy-handed or do you just stand back and let it happen?
Yeah.
You know, that's the dilemma, because at the end of the day we saw the police getting involved, and the police are the ones that are coming out, oh, you never handled that properly. So I think that has to be monitored how many people are going down there, and I think the figures are getting thrown about are a bit large.
Yeah,
I can't see 20,000 supporters down there.
Well, I have to tell you, Roughie, I can, and I can understand I'm certainly not going to defend it, because I can see an outcome. You know, there's Tartan Army are a great travelling support, but if this doesn't go well, you know, all you need is you know, the wrong element among the English support to start something, and then we're really banging trouble with lots of fans who don't have tickets. I hope it doesn't come to that. I mean, I'd love to see a situation where they're all partying, Scotland win, and you know, we can all go mental. But I understand a lot of Rangers fans who are miffed because there seems to be one rule for them, and then one rule for suddenly it's okay for Scotland fans to travel down. Even you know, the London Mayor Sadiq Khan has said, you know, don't come down if you've not got a ticket. He's already warned everybody, so it's a similar situation for me. I think the whole COVID situation has been one of at times mismanagement, mixed messages, and not enough of a clear protocol on what the result or the consequences are of not following guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have to wait and see what the consequences are. Some of the scenes in George Square were pretty bad. We don't want to see that. And I'm more worried about Trafalgar Square, you know, because Trafalgar Square is a fan zone. It's a fan zone for the NHS, for 750 NHS, nobody else. Now, if large numbers of Scottish supporters go down there, the first place to go to is Trafalgar Square.
Yeah, what if they're dressed as nurses?
I wouldn't put that back.
Just a minor technicality. You can guarantee somebody will have a stethoscope on saying, I'm here.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's a valid point. Do I have the answer to it? I don't, to be perfectly honest with you. But nevertheless, the one thing we're hoping for is we're hoping that obviously Scotland, the players, can go down there, go on to the Wembley turf and do exactly what Roughie did all those years ago, which is go there with a tremendous confidence and the ability to believe that they can get a result. That would be fantastic. I mean, I think the whole nation would go into meltdown if that happened. Never mind down in England, up here, we'd be going absolutely crazy. John McGinn has mentioned the fact that players are not fazed going into this one.
We've all played it, well, not all of us, that's not fair to say. A lot of us have played in big games at Wembley and have experienced it before, so we'll be passing on our sort of experiences of it, and we will not be fazed, not one bit, going down there. We've all had experience of big games, whether that's in Scotland or in England, so we'll be ready for Friday and hopefully get a better result than Monday.
John McGinn's not going to be phased, that's for certain. He'll be scurrying about in that midfield, letting everybody know he's there.
Yeah, and then he's the buzz bomb in our team. You know, he's the one giving the ball, who causes problems going through. I think, again, we spoke to Gordon Strachan. If he could tidy up him losing the ball, if he could tidy up once he's went in that mazy run he has without giving away possession to the opposition, I think he'd be a much, much better player. And it happened the other day there. He had a couple of good runs and then we lost possession and we were backs against the wall. But no, he's a player that can trouble England. There's no doubt about that. And a lot of these Scottish boys have been to Wembley before, you know, which is a big, big thing as well. You know, turning up there, obviously it's the new Wembley. We had a different experience for a lot of the boys, but most of them know the players they're up against. I think that's always a good thing, that they've played against them. Yeah. Some of them are in the same team. You know, and that as well, you know the strengths and the weaknesses, you know all about Harry Kane, you know what he's going to do, you know what the big players are going to do, but the other ones, as I said earlier, I think they've still got to prove themselves. I
think John McGinn mentioned, Roughie, that he would much rather Jack Grealish wasn't unleashed on the Scots because he knows how good a player he is.
Yeah, I think we've all saw Grealish, haven't we? We've saw what he can do in games. We saw, they've got match winners as well as us, and so have we. If we can get into the last third and it just comes off for us a wee bit more, we've got to take our chance. We can't go behind. We've got to strike first and the confidence will grow. Yeah, we try and answer as many messages as possible. Some of them are pleasant, some of them want to talk about the football, some are just, well, beggars belief. George says, stop pandering to the Rangers fans on here. It's pathetic, says George Murphy Jr. George, we try and read out as many messages as possible from football fans. If it's a Rangers Celtic, our mother will, and they make a valid point that's worth discussing, we'll discuss it. It's as simple as that. And Hugh Scott makes a really good point. He says, you're going to get Roughie all hot and bothered thinking about women dressed as nurses. Hugh, you know him so well. Thomas McGee's gone early. He says 2-1 Scotland. Thomas, I honestly think, I mean, I've been trying, Roughie, I don't know about you, but I've been trying to like kind of not partake in too many parties or drinks. I'm going to your party on Saturday, but I'm trying to avoid the drink. But I think I'll go gung ho if we win against England. I'll just be going mental. I think we all will. You know, it's the biggest game in the calendar for Scottish fans, the Tartan Army fans who don't tend to support a lot of club teams. Yeah. This is their time, this is their moment. I just think we need to get something that takes on to this next game. We've got to have something to hang on to, and I mean, I was a say now, the draw would do me. I would be more
a
than
draw?
happy. But a draw would be more than happy.
You happy with a draw?
You give me a draw, then.
And you need to beat Croatia in the last game?
Yeah. I think it's something you've got to hang on to. I don't want to go there and get beat 2-0, 3-0, and then we're all going into the Croatia game with a downer, and.
Yeah, because I have to be honest with you. Although sometimes there are a lot of really good professional journalists and broadcasters and that, and I'm not going to get involved in this kind of it's impossible for me to get involved in a kind of an anti-English campaign because there's so many professionals that I work with down there who look at a game, view it, and can call it as they see it. Some of it, I think, is incredibly biased, which annoys our nation. Thomas McDougall says, Peter, can you stop giving out your secrets away when you dress up in your own house? What you do in your own house is your business. Thomas, Roughie, if there was a chance of getting a ticket and you and I had to dress up as nurses, I would have the blue outfit on. I mean, I know a couple of girls who would give me an outfit. Obviously, I'd need it a wee bit chunky. I'd need to take it out a bit. But I'd wear it.
You'd have to have a wig. You'd have to have a wig as well.
I'd have it all. I'd have the lipstick and everything. It would be magnificent. You and I would pull somebody down there, wouldn't we? We didn't.
Why don't you turn up at my party like that on Saturday? We'll see if we can get some kind of atmosphere.
No, I can't. I'll probably end up with Ronnie, your mate, and that would just put me on a complete downer. But anyway, apart from anything else, thanks for that, Thomas. Made me chuckle. Listen, anything to get a ticket. That's I think the feeling from all of the Tartan Army. What about the England camp? I'm going to get your thoughts, Roughie, and try not to pull any punches on this, on the two teams and what they've got going for them. And if you are seriously afraid of England, as far as the England camp's concerned, obviously they're getting ready for it. They've got a win under their belt. They're feeling quite confident about the whole thing. But Tyrone Mings, when he was asked about Scotland, what he's expecting, their style of play from this team, I think he was a little uncertain on what's going to unfold on Friday evening.
So we will be well prepared for however they play. But like I said, there's more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? They can come and they can play good football. They've got really good technicians in their team. They can go long if required. So if anything, that makes them more difficult to predict what they're going to do.
Yeah, he says it's more difficult to predict what we're going to do because sometimes we've been going long, and then of course you've got creative players there. I don't know about you, Roughie. We've just got to play two up front. And the reason why I've suggested so strongly Billy Gilmour is I want to see now a more direct approach. I want to go forward. I want passes forward. I want them to try and somehow play that ball in between that England back three and have two strikers that are worrying them. And that's why I want the Tierney and Robertson threat on the left, the Forrest threat on the right, and the Gilmour's ability to unlock a pass from the middle.
Yeah, I think the game's all about when in possession and when not in possession. When you're not in possession, you've got to defend properly. Everybody's got. If you watch these games, particularly the France game last night, when they're not in possession, they're all defending. Griezmann was making tackles on the 18-yard box. They were all coming back and all helping out. It has to be a team effort. But when you've got the ball and you've got players that can go forward, then you've got to be adventurous. Then you've got to get forward. But I still say, as we saw yesterday in the last game there, we didn't have a playmaker. We didn't have anybody dictating the game. You saw the French game last night, the wee boy in the middle for France. He was just available. Yeah. Give me the ball in a tight position. Just give me it and I'll bring him in. We don't have that. We've got John McGinn as a runner. Yep. McGregor's a runner. He'll run all over the place.
McGregor for me is neat and tidy.
He's neat and tidy.
He's a 5 and 10 yard pass, just keeps the ball moving.
McTominay's a 5 or a 10 yard pass to giving it to the better players and the more adventurous players. Yeah. But we need somebody who gets round about the 18-yard box and can play that, can split that ball, split the defence.
That's what I think Gilmour can do. Kanté, you've mentioned there, is world class. He's all over the place. I don't know, he's got an engine on him that's incredible. Are we overestimating Billy Gilmour? Are we putting too much pressure on this lad to come in? I mean, I think he's top drawer. I watched him, you and I watched him at Firhill playing for Rangers. in an under-17 match. He's magic.
Yeah.
It's great to watch. He's not afraid to take the ball with 3 or 4 players around him, and he's not afraid to actually take the ball on the turn, Roughie. See midfielders who can actually, they know what's around them, they lift their head. If you've got a midfielder who actually is aware of what's around him and can let a ball turn instead of this first touch, square ball, slow the game down, if you can turn and suddenly pick a pass forward, teams hate that.
Yeah, well, I think we're at the stage with Billy Gilmer is I don't actually think we know what we've got. I don't really know how good we think he is, and the only reason we're going to find out is if he goes into a game like this. Now, it's okay being in a Chelsea side and doing his bit with Chelsea, but you think of the players that he's playing with at Chelsea. I mean, none of our players are near that calibre, you know, and that can make a young player look better than what he is. You know, I'm not saying that is the case, but let's find out. Let's find out. Let's put him in there against the guys who he has been playing with in the English Premier, up against, you know, and see how he does. He might be a lot better than what we think he is. Yeah,
Hugh says, I totally agree, Peter. We need to be on the front foot. I think everybody wants us to be aggressive, in their face, high press, cause them problems. We cannot sit there and think, oh, these guys are all on match of the day, let's just admire them. Because I certainly don't want to see for the next 3 or 4 days constant playback of England goals. I mean, it's a great point, I think, which someone has just mentioned, a couple of points there saying, you know, how many times do we have to see the Gascoigne goal? I mean, I remember it, Roughie, because, you know, myself, Davy Moyes, his brother, a few of my mates, Eric McAleer, we were all in, we had to go in the England end because we couldn't get tickets for the Scotland end. It was 1996. I think, where was I working? I was working at STV, but the tickets were so, you know, scarce. And we were in there, and we were in England end watching Gaza flick the ball up over Colin Hendry. Great goal, but for God's sake, how many times do you need to see the goal?
Exactly, but I think if you reverse that mode, how many times do we have to see John Robertson curling a penalty into the corner of the England net? How many times they'll be saying, do we have to see the ball going through Ray Clemens's legs? You know, that's the way it is, you know, in these games.
Not as many as they,
yeah,
not as many. The comparison's not as many, Roughie.
You know,
I know where you're coming from.
You live on these things, you live on these moments, you know, and that's what the players will be saying to themselves, you know, let's live on the moment. Because if we go down there and win, these players will be remembered for a long, long time.
Yeah. Are you scared of certain aspects of England? That's the point I was going to make.
I'm scared of Kane and Sterling. You know, we saw what Kane did, you know, out of nothing. You know, at Hampden the last time with Lee Griffiths' couple of goals. Sterling worries me when he's on his game and he's running at people and he's got so much ability and so much speed. The rest of them, I think, have still got to prove themselves. Even the big boy at the back's got to prove himself. You know, they're
Tyrone
not.
Mings.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of players who are excellent players, but in an England jersey. I mean, even in the last game in England when they won 1-0, there was a lot of boos. There was a lot of unhappy English supporters. You know, until they scored. You know, so they've got to convince the England supporters that this is the team that's going to go far in this tournament.
Well, I thought England were good for the first 20 minutes of the opening game against Croatia, and then they lost it a wee bit. Then in the second half, I think they got a grip in the game as well. I must admit, see, the minute you mentioned Kane there, Roughie, I can remember it. We're trackside, the two of us are there covering the game, and I'm still saying, Craig Gordon, take the ball, take Kane, take anything that's in front of you, stiffen him. And we could have had the most unbelievable win of all time.
Yeah, I thought we were near enough to go in the park and clear it, because we saw it coming. You know, we were in the angle when we seen it, and it was just one of these moments. But that's the player that we don't have. We don't have that player when it's nothing each or one each, and he comes up with the goods. That's unfortunately where we are.
Yeah, I'm going to read out some messages from our Facebook feed as well. And thanks to everyone who's been on Facebook, Twitter, and of course YouTube as well. And next season we'll be exclusively live on YouTube with the programme. I do hope you can join us and subscribe. And if you can't get it on your television, you can get it on your iPad. You can download our app and you can get it on your phone as well. And we hope it's going to be the best platform for us to bring you the show. There's going to be a lot of changes and a lot of good features that I hope you're going to enjoy, some great one-to-ones as well. So hopefully you'll stick with us and subscribe to the channel. Niall Kane, in fact, I'm looking at it here. and quite a lot of people are saying, Peter, you're right, Billy Gilmore is our best playmaker, play two up front and force them to defend. And of course, Davy Cooper's goal was a better keepy-uppy than Gaza's, says David Bell. Yes, I think you're talking about the keepy-uppy in the Driver Cup final of 1979. Can't argue with that. Certainly one of the best Old Firm goals I've ever witnessed, Davy Cooper's goal. But we just, listen, I don't care if it's... I wouldn't care, Roughie, if it took 14 deflections and ended up in the back of the England net. I don't care how scrappy the goal is, as long as it's a goal that sends us on to victory or gives us a positive result with something to play for next week.
Yeah, but I think we're best for a goal would be a set piece. I think a corner, a free kick, something like that. Take a deflection. Look at Portugal last night. We're going nowhere, looking as if it's going to be nothing each, and then all of a sudden a shot hits off the boy's leg and it's 1-0.
Yeah.
And that's what can happen in these games.
John Stafford makes a point here. He says Callum McGregor is a better playmaker, so is Turnbull. John, I'm not so sure I agree with you. I mean, I think Callum... I'm a big Callum McGregor fan, but I think he went off the boil towards the last quarter of the season, Roughie. And the reason I think he went off the boil is I think he was absolutely knackered. Yeah. He played too many games, and too many games in a team that had just completely lost its way at Celtic. I think he's... I don't know, I just don't see the same vibrant Callum McGregor.
Yeah, but that's where you would have thought. He's been away for a fortnight, he's been away with the team. You would have thought they'd monitored that situation, and I don't know what they would do in the training. Would we do as much as them? And you're right, for me, for Celtic this year, it was nearly a one-man team, and I think we've got to remember that he took over the Scott Brown mantle. When Scott wasn't playing all the time, it was Callum McGregor was the main man in the midfield, and he played over 60 games, and that's a lot of games. But you would have thought, being away with the Scotland team, you would have monitored that. You'd have said, right, you just do half an hour here, everybody's doing an hour. And I wouldn't like to think that he's been left out because he looks tired. Everybody's saying he looks tired, he looks tired, he looks tired.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to think he'd miss out in a game like this just because he's not 100% fit, because I do think he's got the energy in there that a lot of players don't have. He's busy, he likes to get the ball in, he likes to, bring people into the game, and that again is what we're missing.
Do you think you'll play Billy Gilmore or McGregor?
You've convinced me, Billy Gilmore. I want to see Billy Gilmore now. I saw him with Chelsea and I've heard everybody talking about him. I just want to see him on the park. I just want to see him for 90 minutes. I want to see this young guy who's going to be the future for Scotland in the midfield, because we haven't had a player like this since, I keep on bringing up wee Barry, and that's what kind of player we need. If you look at all these teams that have been on the Euros, they've got a player like that.
Yeah. They've
got a player who pulls the strings.
We need to do something different, Roughie. I think we need to drop the whole situation of, I don't want caution. I want two strikers. I want an option on the right. I want something in the middle of the park, as we've talked about. I think a lot of fans would like to see that as well. And I'd like to see Tierney. I hope Tierney is fit enough to play, because Tierney and Robertson will give us an option again down that flank. And then you're just hoping the back line can curtail Kane when we don't have that ball. We've got to press, but we've got to do it in a sensible manner that doesn't leave space, as you say, for Sterling to run into, and of course Kane to finally pick his moment to break his duck and score in this tournament and get himself off and running. You can give us your thoughts on it all. Of course, we've been talking over the last couple of days about potentially the players who are going to play. We think this is our preferred lineup. I don't know if you agree with it or not, disagree. Marshall will retain his place. I don't see any problem with that. Hendry, maybe. Hanley, Tierney. Then it's Forrest and Robertson for me, Gilmore, McTominay, McGinn, and then Adams and Dykes. Maybe, is there a doubt over whether Henry would retain his place?
I don't think Henry did anything wrong, apart from the shot. I thought the shot was there to be taken on. You've already seen that he's got it in him to score a goal. The option was to play it wide, but he took the option to shoot, and I don't have a problem with that at all. But apart from that, I think he's the kind of player that would stroll through this kind of game. He looks comfortable on the ball. And again, England aren't going to come at you, and they're not going to be bombarding balls into the box. Everyone's going to be on the deck. So for me, I keep going back to that game last night with France. Everybody talks about the best three forwards in the competition. I thought defensively they were so organised. Just a bank of four and a bank of four in front of them. And they just said to Germany, here, let's see what you've got. Let's see if you can break us down. And if you're organised like that and you have a discipline at the back, it's very, very difficult if everybody gets behind the ball and defends properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to so many people obviously giving us their messages of how they want the team to line up. Also, they want to know, some people giving us their scores right away. But it's early days. There's a few twists and turns. We obviously want to find out exactly who's going to play, who's fit, and then from there our whole attitude about how we're going to take on England. I think if they see two up front, they'll know we're there at Wembley ready to have a go. I certainly would love to see that. Who knows? I mean, I think to get a Don Hutchinson moment and a win in a game would be phenomenal. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. My personal opinion is I think we've blown it just because of the whole Czech Republic. We should have been more positive. And in the end, we were undone by a quality striker, Roughie. I think that the Czech Republic game has killed us off. I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
Well, as we spoke the other day there, that you get into the Czech Republic game thinking it's 3 points and what you can get out of the other games is a bonus, but we're now on the back foot. The pressure's now there, there's no doubt about that. And to go to Wembley and play one of the favourites to win the tournament, in some people's eyes, we're expecting our team to go down there and beat them.
Yeah, look at the table, Roughie. I mean, the table.
No, I'm not looking at it. I don't want to see it. I'm not looking at it.
It's just a nightmare, isn't it? Look at that. I mean, even if we get a point against England, we've got to go and make sure we score enough goals to try and defeat Croatia. And I think Croatia are better by some distance than the Czech Republic.
Yeah, I can see the Croatian game. They could win that 1-0 quite easily. I think Czech Republic were okay. They weren't that much better than us. I thought we were at the same level. So you've got to say the Croatians are better than them. So we've got another game in our hand. But I just want us to have that game in our hand, that everybody's still up for it and we're still hanging on next Tuesday. Okay,
hang fire. Don't give us your prediction yet, Roughie. We'll wait and see exactly how it all pans out. You can give us your prediction if you want to go early with it, but don't forget we are continuing our build-up all the way through to the England game as well on Friday, and we'll be back with you next week previewing that match against Croatia. It could be our final game in it, or we could be on cloud nine. Who knows? The twists and turns in the Euros. As far as the results and the fixtures on offer today, here's what we have to look forward to. Of course, a couple of games: Hungary 0, Portugal 3, France 1, Germany 0, and there's the game that's just finished earlier today: Finland 0, Russia 1, and then it's Turkey against Wales at 5 o'clock. Italy against Switzerland tonight, which is going to be a good one to watch because, we love seeing big game players, Roughie. Ronaldo is at it again. He scores a double. He's now the top Euro scorer of all time, 2 ahead of Michel Platini. He's just breaking records right, left and centre.
Yeah, and that's why we discussed yesterday. I think at the big tournaments, he turns it on. I know the second half he didn't do particularly anything, and I'd love to know how many touches he got in the second half, but when the big moment comes, he's your big moment player. I mean, even when he stepped up to take the penalty, he's not going to miss this.
No,
he's not going to miss this.
Listen, he's played now, I mean, he's a world record holder as far as, at the Euros, he's now played in 5 tournaments. I think he started out at Greece in 2004, which is incredible for such a young player to play for his country and strut his stuff as well. He was alongside Figo, as we remember, all those years ago. The incredible thing about him is he's got 11. Platini is the second place player. Do you know who there's a player in third place for scoring the most goals over the Euros? I wonder if you can name the player who's in third place. He's English.
I'd go Shearer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Alan Shearer, good shout, Roughie. 7 goals, Alan Shearer. He's in third place. And of course, Ronaldo over all those 5 tournaments. I love the trivia on him. I was reading up on him today and I thought, wow, I mean, it's just frightening. Including qualifiers. Have a guess at how many goals Ronaldo scored for his country for the Euros, including the qualifiers.
including, oh God, I'd be guessing 40 odd.
42. You're on it. By the way, we're on our 10th year, Roughie, and you're coming good right at the tail end of this 10th year. Fantastic. 42. And the nearest to Ronaldo in the Euros is a Swede who's closest to him, and he's only on 25. A Swede striker.
It's not your pal, is it?
No, it's not my pal. A Swedish striker.
I'd go
The big boy.
Ibrahimovic.
Yep, and the next one, two behind him, is an Irish striker.
Oh, the wee boy.
Yeah.
He's centre forward.
Yeah.
I'll come to him in
Used
a
to
minute.
do this, Roughie.
Yeah, I'll come to me in a minute.
Used to do this.
Come and give me his first name.
Oh, for God's sake.
Come and
Robbie.
Robbie, I've got his face and everything. I've got everything.
Yeah, Robbie Keane.
Robbie Keane.
Anyway, you've done well, Roughie. What did you make of France-Germany?
I thought Germany were predictable, as they always are. Very tight at the back, apart from the goal, obviously. But for me, you know, the highlight was the French defence. It was just, I just watched them, the four of them at the back, and they all went out in a tam. It was like a wave, you know, and even Griezmann and even the other boys knew where to go. It was just a complete and total defensive formation of, right, we're okay when we're going forward, we've got the players to go forward and cause them problems, but seeing we've not got the ball, we're under a bit of pressure, this is your job, that's your job, that's your job. Yeah. And they were just firing balls in and just clearing them for fun.
Yeah.
You know, Germany disappointed me a wee bit, you know, but when you've got the three up front, you know, they're going to cause somebody some damage.
Oh, Alec Kelly has just said France versus Italy final if they manage to avoid each other. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think if anything, I don't see England getting to the final. I might be wrong. I mean, certainly favouring them if you get to semi-finals and final with the way home advantage could play out for them. But I think you've got a good shout there with regards to Italy making it as well. They're certainly the dark horses. As far as that game last night, Germany, I don't think have got anything enough up front. Thomas Muller's getting on. I don't think they've got enough to cause anybody major problems the way they used to when they were written off. France, for me, I just see them in the final. I just think they've got everything. They've got gears to go through. Although I'm not quite sure, Roughie, I don't know how you're brought up to think it might be okay to bite people. Rudiger did look as if he was biting Pogba, but he's been cleared by UEFA.
Yeah, I think it was more a nibble than a bite. You know, it was sort of a testing.
I mean, what goes through a player's mind?
Yeah, what does go through your mind is you say, right, I'm going to try and have a wee bite here. None of the cameras will pick it up. There are not many cameras at a game, you know, that's not going to pick something like that up.
I don't know about you, Roughie. I always like to see with Belgium, obviously, they'll go through if they beat Denmark. I fully expect them to do that.
Yeah, I think Belgium will be there or thereabouts. They've still got some big players there.
Yeah. When we finish, Roughie, I'll automatically be looking to Turkey against Wales. I don't know about you. I like to see the home nations do well. Obviously, if England are in our group, then I want England to get stuffed by us. I want Scotland to win. But I like to see Wales doing well. I think they've got a not a bad side. I still think Bale needs to contribute more. Yeah,
but he will. He will. Yeah. You'll think he's not contributing, and then all of a sudden he'll be the one. And then the Welsh players will know he is the one. As long as he's on the park, they've got somebody who can do something special. And when you've got somebody like that in your team, you know, you just hang on in there and say, right, if we do our job defensively or whatever, give him maybe two chances, and he'll convert one of them. It'll be spectacular. It won't be a tap-in or anything like that. It'll be something out of this world.
Yeah, absolutely. Turkey, Wales, I'm going for Wales to edge it, despite the fact that the stadium will be full of as many Turkish fans as you could possibly think of. Wales to edge it by a goal. I'm being biased.
No, I think Turkey are a sort of a dark horse.
Yeah,
I think Turkish club football is on the up again. You know, don't ask me to say any other players because I wouldn't be able to pronounce it. But I just think with that support behind them, I think it's going to be enough. Maybe a narrow 1-0.
Yeah. Do you know what the score was the last time the two of them met in 1997?
No.
6-4 to Turkey.
6-4 after 90 minutes.
6-4.
Wow.
6-4, so hopefully we get goals. As far as tonight's concerned, Roughie, Italy, Switzerland, I think it's well worth a watch. Are we looking at possibly the guy who's going to be the greatest goalkeeper of this generation coming through in the Italian goal in Gianluigi Donnarumma? He's only 22, 27 caps, 16 clean sheets, and amazingly, this Italian side, they've never conceded more than one goal since he started playing in 2016.
Yeah, I'm sure he would like to take all the credit for that, but I think it's the 4 in front of them.
Yeah,
the 5 in front of them.
I thought you were in the goalkeepers union.
Yeah, no, and he, if we listen to everybody saying, he is definitely the new Buffon.
Yeah.
You know, with these kind of stats beside him. I've still, he's made saves. There's no doubt about that. But I still, to see him making that world's class save that the big goalkeepers make in these games. Again, when it's nothing each and they make the save that wins it or takes them to a final or wins a final, I'm sure he will. He's got everything. He's got presence in the goals, you know, and he looks very confident.
Yep, okay. I'm going to go, well, because they haven't conceded a goal in the last 9 matches and they've scored 28, I'm going to go for Italy to win this one convincingly 2-0.
Yep, I'm going to go 2-0. 2-0 is convincing for Italy because they just batter you, and then once they go 1 or 2-0 up, that's it, game finished.
Yeah, okay. I have to tell you that we will continue the build-up to the England-Scotland game on Friday. We'll hear from Steve Clarke and some more of the players tomorrow on the programme. You can give us your view on who you think is going to start. Give us your 11. If you want to actually contribute with a video on your opinion, if you've got enough confidence, if you download the app, there's a little section called Submission, and you can actually record your video of how you think the game's going to go. And the best video, we'll get a Scotland strip for you. So a Scotland top will be winging its way to the best one. So if you download the PLZ Soccer app, all you have to do is quite simply, download it, hit submission, record your video, press send, and basically we'll pick the best one, put it on air with your opinion, as long as you don't mind coming on the show, and quite simply the best one will win a Scotland top. Can't get any better than that. Incidentally, what we're doing at the moment, which is going down a storm, is we've got a game called Euro 2020 Fandex. It's on our website. It's a great game, stock exchange. You get a chance basically for absolutely no money whatsoever. It's free to play, and all you have to do quite simply is pick your favourite teams, buy and sell the shares based on their performances, and you could win some great cash prizes we're giving away with Fandex and PLZ Soccer. So it's a great game. All you have to do is go onto our website, hit Euro 2020 Fandex and play the game, and fingers crossed, at the end of each stage, you could be one of those lucky people winning a cash prize. Good luck with that. Pick the teams, buy and sell the shares. It's just like the stock exchange, but a lot of fun, and it's absolutely free to play. Just before we go, got to mention, Roughie, Scottish clubs in Europe. Celtic are drawn against the Danish Superliga runners-up Midtjylland, and I think we are well aware of them from the last 5 or 6 years. I think Eric Zviachenko certainly had an association with Midtjylland as well. So it's Celtic with Ange Postecoglou, their new manager, trying to plot their way through the qualifiers. What do you make of that?
Well, they're one of the sides. I think it was about 8 years ago. It just came out of the pack, you know, like sort of a Rosenborg, you know, who grew every year. They got into the competition, and they've been in a couple of group stages as well, you know. And I think they gave a lot of big teams a bit of trouble. But so I think that's a game that Celtic will have to watch.
Yeah, here's the Celtic defender Stephen Welsh giving us his thoughts on this draw.
Aye, of course. I already said it's going to be a tough game against them. They're a good side. So it's a Champions League qualifier. So I will be going into it with high hopes, and hopefully we could get a result out of that. But it's still a long way to go until then. It's all about getting the fitness up and then getting through the pre-season games unscathed.
Yeah, so that's Celtic. Roughie, as far as the other teams are concerned, Aberdeen will face Häcken of Sweden. Don't know too much about them. And Hibs are going to play Mons Calpe of Gibraltar or Andorra's Santa Coloma. So you would think, I mean, listen, the one thing I would like to see, and I think maybe, Aberdeen, once they start to mould a side together, and Hibs, our sides out with the Old Firm really have to start delivering shortly.
Yeah, if you're just going to be challenging Rangers and Celtic for the whole season, for your fans, you need to give them something else. You need to give them obviously a cup run, a domestic cup run. But for Europe, if they could get in any kind of European run, the supporters from these clubs would absolutely enjoy that. You know, there's no doubt. And I think Aberdeen, more than anybody, have been the biggest failures when we all thought that this is a draw, that they should win quite comfortably, and then they fall flat in their face. So I think that you're right, the pressure's on these two to start getting us more points in Europe.
Yeah, and as we know from yesterday's fixtures, Rangers will open up their campaign against Livingston, and it's a trip to Tynecastle for Celtic in the season. We're certainly looking forward to it. I do hope that you can stick with us and join us. Gabs will be with us, of course, Tam McManus, Tam Cowan, Hugh McDonald, Alison McConnell, as well as Charlie Adam and Steven Naismith will all be contributing to the show. And there'll be a lot more to enjoy in Peter and Roughie's football show as we enter our 10th year, Roughie. Yeah. Surely nothing can stop us from getting the 10, Roughie.
Have you not had molester from a testimonial? 10 years you get a testimonial, did you not know that?
I know, I've listened, but I deserve a testimonial for being with you for the 10 years. It's been incredible, it's flown in, hasn't it?
It certainly has, and look where we were, look where we are now. You know, I think anybody who was with us in the early stage will remember the cardboard cutout that just to womble away in the back of the studio.
Cartoon.
The cartoon, but this is absolutely incredible. This is a proper studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully you're enjoying the programme. Thank you for the countless messages that we receive on a regular basis from so many people, just offering their thoughts on their favourite team. And of course, I love the fact that we seemingly are united as a nation. You wouldn't think so from some of the messages we read. We want Steve Clarke to do well. We want him to pick the best team. We want certainly Scotland to be positive going into the game on Friday. And who knows, maybe a miracle can happen. I'm slightly despondent, but over the next couple of days, maybe you can pick me up and get your thoughts across to us. And then we'll, maybe get more and more positive as we get to Friday. Are you positive? I'm slightly worried.
The Czech game's gone now. Yeah. Everything that happened in that game is gone. I think you've got to look forward to the team selection will show us how positive we're going to be. I want two strikers. I don't care whether we play the ball long or not. Whether we play it long, if you get two strikers, you get a better chance of causing problems. Playing two wide guys are going to put balls into the box for two strikers will make it a lot easier. Defensively, we were anxious, but no. As I said, don't want to repeat myself. I've been there myself. Against the odds, we've won. A lot of other Scotland teams have went down to Wembley. Against the odds, they've won. So it can happen. And let's hope that the boys put in a big performance. Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks to George. Thanks to Ronnie Porter. We love your support, Ronnie. Of course, we read out as many messages as possible. Kevin McManus, miracles do happen. Kevin, I hope you're right. Darren Muir, come on Scotland, be brave. And Frank Ingalls as well. Lots of people sending messages of support. And of course, who they want to play in the game. We're going to find out very shortly. I leave you with this little story that caught my eye, Roughie, which quite simply sums up the player that I'm about to talk about, who's now a manager. He's won a double. He's now holding the course record, the new course record for the new Dunblane Golf Club. And I'm talking about Callum Davison. At 44, he plays off scratch, right? And he got a 7 under par, course record 62. And he's now the out-and-out course record holder. I mean, what an incredible... He should do the lottery and win it.
Man of many sporting talents, and another bow he's got is tennis.
Yes, I heard
he's a remarkable tennis player. So sometimes, when you're that talented and gifted at sport, you can play most sports, but anybody who plays golf will know to have a course record at his age is absolutely remarkable.
Oh, it's unbelievable, Roughie. Is there any player that you played with who was absolutely all-round sporty? The reason I know one player here who grew up with me here in the village, who was Gary McAllister. Gary McAllister could have been a professional golfer. He was so good. I know Gordon Marshall's a really good golf player, but McAllister could play, football, top drawer, brilliant guy, great golfer, had the choice when he was a teenager and opted for football, thankfully, because it was great for us, to see him at club football and for Scotland, and now as an assistant to Steven Gerrard. Any player that you was an all-rounder?
Alan Hansen was a terrific golfer.
Yeah.
Kenny Dalglish, another good golfer and very cagey golfer. I'll tell you a quick story with him and Richard Keys.
Yeah.
Richard Keys challenged him to a game of golf at his Kenny, and they stood on the first tee, and Keys thought he was a bit of a player, and he said, I bet you I could drive further than you down the first hole. And Kenny said, how much? And he went, 50 quid, and he went, fine. He says, you go first. So Richard Keys put his ball down and hit the ball. It must have been about 280, 300 yards, and Kenny said, I can't beat that. But the first hole's down that way. It's not that way.
Brilliant. That's good enough for me. A smile on her face. Let's hope that continues, Roughie, all the way through to Friday. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. More crack, more interviews as well coming up. Download the app. Don't forget to play our Euro 2020 Fandex game on our website. But more importantly, I think if you download the app, you'll get all the news at your fingertips, and you can even watch the show live, even if you're on the go. Simple as that. From Roughie and myself, Peter Martin, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.